in my day job, we talk about iterative improvement, which is basically making small changes all the time to constantly improve something. And that's, it's good with like training, like physical training or learning a skill. Like you just want to improve slowly and gradually because those big improvements are just way too hard. So basically with your modular upgradability, you can make small changes. Everyone can make small changes all the time to constantly improve stuff, which is just not a blockchain thing. So that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, and actually, I was talking to Steve yesterday, one of our blockchain architects, about this, and I assume you guys use Agile, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I'm like, people, we need to talk about Agile more. Like Agile is at the heart of what we do. Like it's like, I don't know, it seems more important than just saying it's a methodology that we use to regularly deliver code. It is a philosophy
Yeah.
that governs our whole approach to building this thing. And you're absolutely right. Uh, it's about iterative small improvements, and it's really important for people to understand that. The reason why we were talking about it is because I think that it's important for everybody who gets involved with Koinos to understand the agile methodology and the philosophy behind it, because if they don't, it's actually going to make it harder for them to contribute meaningfully. Because if you don't understand that Koinos is designed, so thank you for changing the subject before. I think you're absolutely right. The problem that materializes on other blockchains when they make changes is the result of the fact that they have no choice but to think about, okay, where's the end goal? Where's the big problem we need to solve? And we just have to linearly attack that problem, and we basically like have one shot at it.
Yeah.
And we can't change our minds, we can't pivot, we can't tolerate dissenting opinions. Like when I saw that change, it's like, again, it may be the right thing, I don't know, I'm not as heavily involved. It seems like the kind of change that is so specific that it is totally impossible that everybody agreed that was the right decision to get made.
Right.
It had to be the kind of decision where it was like, something's not working, maybe this will fix it, let's all get behind it and let's do all of the work to do it and go all in. And then everybody has to kind of accept it and like wait for the situation to kind of smoothen out and stabilize, and then we'll go from there for the next one. Which is the opposite. That's very much like the waterfall method.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, and you have to do that with blockchain. And probably in part because because of the monolithic architectures that dominate the space. Because like monolithic architectures and waterfall methodology were co-evolved.
Yeah, I mean, you basically have to take everything down for 12 hours or 24 hours or 48 hours. And so it has to be like, because of that, everything has to go down. So therefore, like you can't do that every week.
Well, and there's that's huge. That's a huge bottleneck. Obviously, we're pretty obsessed with it. But there's the other problem of doing the work and what it looks like to do the work when it's a monolithic architecture where everything's interconnected. You can't make a simple little change. You have to make these big changes with big impact, or at least come to some kind of compromise between a little change and a massive change. You can't really do either.
Yeah.
And and there's some kind of connection between monolithic architectures and hard forks that's a bit beyond my understanding. I'm sure computer scientists could kind of get to it, but it's like the more monolithic the architecture, the design of the system, the more disruptive system changes have to be, whatever the process, whatever the mechanism is called, it has to be highly disruptive because the whole system is interconnected. And there's this connection there that it's not the same thing, but there's like a high degree of connection or something.
Yeah, and when there is a hard fork, everyone who has an application that plugs into that hard fork then has to fix their own application as well. So it's not just like the blockchain changes, but every application that has to make a change as well. Where it sounds like what you're describing with Koinos is that if I have an application and I'm running my own contracts, if you make a change to a contract over here, it just doesn't affect me. Is that right? Unless I guess it's a system contract.
Correct. I mean, what's most important often, I mean, look, it's always the case that there's going to be some scenario that sucks for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Computers. Yeah. So right. And so the more important question is often like, what are we trying to do? How are we trying to design this system? And what is the end product that we're trying to build supposed to look like? And the reason I say that is because, and then that informs you about the design. So certainly the way that we built Koinos, the way that we continue to build Koinos, is to maximize the probability that when a change is made, it is as non-disruptive as possible to everyone.
Yeah.
And so while we can't say that there will be no changes that have negative impacts, what I can say is that it is a top design constraint of ours to ensure that when changes are made, that they are not disruptive. And that has impact. And we think about that when we're addressing any component. So for example, a big problem on Steam and Hive wasn't necessarily about the change to the blockchain itself. It was the downstream effects on client libraries, and it's like, right, and so you make this change, and it was freaking hard. It was a nightmare, and now you got to go and update all the client libraries.
Yeah.
And again, it's easy work. It's not technically challenging. It's time consuming. It's soul crushing. Nobody wants to do it. Yeah. And it actually matters to developers more than the change that you make.
Right. Yeah, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so, and that's where our work on multi-language support comes into play. And that's why we do so much work on that front, where the change is made and then that change propagates throughout the system, automatically updating the connected components so that the end result is, nothing happened. I didn't even notice anything happened. This was seamless, but it took building a blockchain from scratch, not, around these design principles, spending a year of insanely hard work to build a system from scratch that's capable of doing these things. And again, that's based on our experience with Steam. But yeah, again, it's like the trivial changes. I think people really don't focus enough on the importance of trivial changes and minimizing those costs. Like people say, like in our internal conversations, the guys will want to do something, and I'll be like, okay, why do we want to do that? And they're like, oh, Well, it's not a big deal, but it's going to save us a lot of like menial work down the line. And I'm like, great, then let's
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they almost feel bad suggesting it, because they want to work, like I'm gonna get stuff done. Like I don't shy away from hard work, so
yeah, yeah,
they almost feel embarrassed to say it. I'm like, no, 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 that's important.
yeah,
You shouldn't have to waste your time. And by the way, community developers, other developers, people who want to contribute to Koinos, we don't want them wasting their time because they won't. They'll
yeah.
just leave. So focusing on these trivial problems and like doing just like a little, it's like a little extra work and thought.
Yeah,
It's not that much. It's just taking that extra second to be like, is there a better solution that's going to make everybody's lives better
yeah,
6 months from now, a
yeah.
year from now, as opposed to tomorrow? What's going to make the price pump tomorrow? That's all it takes.
One thing I have noticed in the corporate world at the moment is just how much effort everyone is putting into zero downtime systems. It's huge. It's definitely like the flavor of the month or the year. Because if you think about it, like a big company, if their system goes down for a day, like that's maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, we've all been affected by like, oh, at the supermarket, like their point of sale system is down, like it affects everything. So like in the corporate world, like you can't have systems go down for 2 days. Like it's a huge thing. So like to have a blockchain that doesn't have 24-hour downtime for a hard fork is huge. It really means a lot to the corporate world.
Yeah. And if you think about an economy that's worth what, $100 million, $1 billion, $10 billion, $1 trillion,
Yeah,
right? Like downtime, you can't have those things go down. It's a serious limiting factor on growth.
yeah,
And it's not exactly why we built it this way, but that's definitely an added benefit of building it this way, is that it uncorks that bottleneck, and dramatically improves the large scale user experience of the platform if you don't have to worry about downtime. Now, we'll see.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
definitely doing all we can to minimize, and I think more than anyone else in the space by far, to minimize the downtime. But yeah, we'll see. That's interesting. That's interesting that you're seeing that's such a
yeah.
priority that you're seeing.
Like companies are spending a lot of money to avoid, a day a year being down. Like we're starting to get into the 99.99999% uptime, or even 100%. Like that's such a big deal, and companies are spending a lot of money to get 100% uptime.
Is there anything you've seen that is the crux of their strategy for achieving this? Like what exactly are they doing
Yeah,
to
so
achieve that goal?
it's basically having different data centers in different areas, and being able to seamlessly transition. All right, we're working on this. These servers are up, and it's in this data center and these databases, and then like, oh, we switch to this other one seamlessly. No one knows, but it's like, it's essentially having 3 or 4 of these massive systems around the world that can all seamlessly connect to each other, so that the actual users don't know. So like, basically spending a lot of money on your computer system and then quadrupling that so that you have 100% uptime.
Sounds a little bit like decentralization. A
Right.
little
um
more, yeah.
yeah. So what are you hoping for happens during this testnet time? So basically, I imagine developers have a quarter or two to play with testnet before mainnet launches. What are you hoping from the community?
Well, continued feedback. What tooling do they want to see? Um, what errors are they finding? I
Yeah.
think that those are going to be the two main things. We're also, I think the third major thing would be feedback on designs. So um, we're going to have to start releasing designs of the mainnet features that we think would be optimal, consensus algorithm, governance, things like that. Really, the resource system in the testnet isn't close to as it isn't as close to as sophisticated as the monosystem will be. It won't be complicated, but it'll be more sophisticated. So, we got to release designs for those, get feedback on those designs, because at the end of the day, it's funny, like everybody wants to know about the consensus algorithm. I have a hunch that now that the testnet is out, because that was our number one question when
Yeah.
testnet, I have a hunch that the number one question we're going to get from here on out is going to be, what's the consensus algorithm? And it's a funny thing because, being so deep in Koinos development, it changes how you think about blockchain problems, because yeah, that's an important problem on other blockchains. It's not an important problem on Koinos.
Right.
It's really
Because
not
we
going
could
to
have
impact.
multiple consensus algorithms, right? Like you could have one, I could have one, someone else could have a different one.
Yeah, so we're talking. So we're talking about, yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about the consensus algorithm for block producers, for
Sure.
node operators. How do we coordinate people who are producing blocks and determining, like which blocks just, get added to irreversible state. And that's it. We're not talking about hard forks. This is a mechanical process on Koinos. And we're not stuck with whatever Koinos, whatever consensus algorithm we ultimately implement. So it's really just not as important. We could literally launch the mainnet with a proof of work consensus algorithm like we have in the testnet, and it would be fine. It probably wouldn't be ideal, but it would be fine. Now, that isn't the consensus algorithm we want to launch with. We want to put the blockchain on the strongest footing possible. And we do have a design in mind that we want to share with people. And we need to get their feedback, and hopefully there are computer scientists and software engineers in the community who can dig in, do modeling, simulations, mathematical proofs that can help make the consensus algorithm even better. Because the ultimate objective of this is the irony. The ultimate objective of the consensus algorithm is that it fades into the background and is of no interest to anyone. It just allows the network to function reliably. And so, hopefully people can help us get there for mainnet. And the same is true of the governance, the governance system, the staking system. We'll have to disclose more information about that. And yeah, feedback is welcome, is going to be welcome on all of that. And it would be nice, I think, if community members could basically stay focused on those three pillars. What errors are you getting? What tooling do you want? Okay, I want to get balances. I want to, right? We basically give no tooling, so there's plenty of tooling we're sure people want. But agile, right? Agile, working product over documentation. So
Yeah. And so when I spend the whole weekend spending 5 minutes setting up my testnet, will I be running, like I'll be running a node along with everyone else running the testnet node, right? So my computer will be talking to your computer, all that sort of stuff. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. By the way, I forgot that I've been running a node on my computer for days,
Right.
including through this conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm literally looking at you and I'm looking on the same computer at the blocks getting produced, right? And I got about 30 Chrome tabs open,
Yeah.
we've got plenty of resources. So yes, and I'm seeing that I received a peer address via gossip. I'm seeing the address of that peer. I see when I miss peers. I see the hash rate. One of the things we added is you can see the total hash rate on the network. So we're at 14.5 mega hashes. The team was producing about 3 mega hashes. So that tells you how many more people are on the network now,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I mean, you can theoretically upload C++ smart contracts to this and have them executed. Now, you'd have to be a certified genius in
Yeah, I
order
do
to
not
make
have
that
that
happen.
skill.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even give you the tools. You will be able to. You will be able to. We will give you the tooling
Yeah.
so to start uploading contracts. I mean, I don't know when we'll be able to do this, but it will not be technically difficult to give you the tooling you need to say launch a token.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
launch this smart contract, right? Like we'll give you all the stuff you need. You'll be able to look. You'll be able to upload it, and then you'll be able to see it, right? And then everybody else in the network will be able to see it. And yeah, you can get test tokens by going into the Discord server, the Koinos channel. The way we did it is you basically through a Discord bot. So you basically give the bot your address and ask it for money, and it sends you money. And one of the pieces of tooling that we don't have yet is you can't transfer it. So that's that's at the top of the list. So pretty soon you'll be able to transfer it. So yeah, I think you're going to be pretty excited by what you can do, and
Yeah.
it's going to get better fast. There's going to be more coming. I mean, we want to give people breaks and vacations and things, so we need to rest a little bit.
Yeah, of course. It's important.
But I think, yeah, as that T-coin example illustrates, I think we're going to see a lot of improvements very fast because of the hard decisions that we made 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, and because everyone wants to contribute, like everyone wants to be a part of building up something amazing. So yeah, I think things will happen very fast, and yet not fast enough at the same time.
Never fast enough.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew. Obviously, always a pleasure. I have to go to the tip now. I have to go to the dump. From like talking about cutting edge technology to loading stuff in a truck and taking it to the dump. That's my day.
That's probably a healthy balance.
Yeah. Get some physical labor in there.